Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
G'day guys, Sam Cawthorn here, and here we are, the second episode of Industry Authority. You know, in the first episode, we actually spoke a little bit more about how do you become an industry authority and what are the key components are for you to stand out from the noise. Because I know that you, whatever industry that you're in, whether you're in personal development, maybe you're a coach, maybe you're a mentor, maybe you're an expert or a speaker, whatever that might be, or maybe you're an entrepreneur, you sell products or services or whatever that might be, right now in our marketplace is more saturated than any other time in history. What do you need to do to stand out from the noise? What do you need to do to become an industry authority so you get paid more and also your message not only goes nationally but also internationally as well? So this is what this series is all about, to become an industry authority. So the first part, we actually spoke a little bit more about the three key areas of this entire series. So the first key area is all around positioning. So the first 4 episodes is about how you can position yourself in the marketplace so you stand out, so your message is being heard globally and also you're standing out from your competition. The second part of this series is all about platform. What exactly is the platform that you're getting this message into, and how can you communicate and effectively communicate in the greatest way, whether it's to get speaking engagements or whether it's to communicate really effectively in your marketplace to stand out from the noise. And so this is all around platform. And then the third area of this series is all about packaging. How can you package your information in a way that your message is being heard globally, commercially, while you sleep, which is really cool. So the first episode was all specifically about your niche positioning. And what we did, we uncovered what we like to call our niche positioning system. So this is about our why. And we spoke a little bit about Simon Sinek, start with why, and about to make sure that where your intrinsic motivation is birthed from is from your why. So whatever message, whatever product, whatever service that you have, you need to make sure it's congruent with your why. The second part we spoke a lot about is all about your strengths. So this is about making sure that your message is in alignment with your strengths. And we've talked about this assessment called the Clifton Gallup Strengths Assessment. So it's about finding out exactly what your top 5 core strengths are. So we spoke a lot about strengths. Then we spoke about market demand, and this is all about understanding your market really well, surveying your market, and then developing your product, your services around that market and their demands. Don't ever assume you know your market, because value is not value unless it addresses the pain point or problem of your target market. So we talked about market demand. And then the fourth area of our niche positioning system was all specifically about having one disruptive idea, just one. You know, as entrepreneurs, we come up with 65,000 ideas every single day. We do not have an ideas problem. We actually have a focus issue. So what does it look like for you to focus on one thing, do it really well, and going deep with it? And what is your disruption? So that's what we spoke about in the very first episode. In this second episode, we are talking about refining and defining your ideal avatar. Guys, as you know, if you do not know what your ideal avatar is, you do not have a market. And nowadays, spray and pray will no longer work. It's not about just getting out as much information as you can out there and spraying it out and just praying it might hit on 1 or 2 people. So today is all about what do you need to do to refine and define your ideal avatar, and what exactly is your message, what exactly is your product, your services, or whatever that might be, and how are you delivering those products or your services. So what I'd like to do, first of all, I want to really uncover exactly your specific avatar. Now, how we're going to do that is we're going to first of all uncover the personal development space as a whole. If I uncover this in a little bit more detail, then and only then can you really learn how to position you as an industry authority, thus learn exactly what that avatar is. So what we have here is the difference between one-to-one and one-to-many. Because as you all know, in order for you to uncover exactly how to get your message out there, you need to understand, are you operating in the one-to-one or one-to-many? So let me unpack this in a little bit more detail, particularly in the personal development space as an industry authority. The first one there is showing. So this is all about becoming a mentor. So as in one-to-one, the greatest mentors out there will literally show you how it's done. So these are the type of people that will hold your hand and say, hey, look, let's get through this together. You know, it's quite interesting. I actually had a major car accident quite a few years ago. It was my fault. What happened, I was driving along and I fell asleep at the wheel. I veered over the other side of the road and I had a 206-kilometre head-on collision with a semi-trailer truck. It was my fault. I fell asleep. I was in hospital for 5 months and in a wheelchair for an entire year. Actually, initially, the doctor said I'll never be able to walk ever again, that I'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. But obviously, as you can see, I actually proved them wrong. As you can see, I am walking. However, in saying that, one thing I have found is that when I was in hospital, I was actually known as the in-house counsellor in the hospital. What do I mean by that? So throughout my entire rehabilitation, you know, my physios, doctors, occupational therapists, etc., they could see that I was taking my accident really well. I had this mindset that I was just really happy. Why? Because I was very grateful. And at the time I had these 2 kids, I had this beautiful wife, and they 100% supported me no matter what. So who am I to get bitter, to get angry? I've never suffered from depression, anxiety, stress, or anything like that. And I don't want to come across superhuman or anything like that. But one thing I did find is that there was this other guy that was in hospital, and his name was Mal. And Mal was given one of those type of wheelchairs, you know, like a manual wheelchair. I was given this little electronic wheelchair, like a scooter. And so, you know, I used to scoot around the hospital everywhere. And so on this particular day, this guy, Mal, was in hospital, and he'd actually had a motorbike accident in the hospital. And he wasn't taking it too well. He'd lost his leg in the accident, and he wasn't taking it too well. Actually, get this. To be quite honest, he wanted to commit suicide. And so they'd tried counsellors and occupational therapists and everything like that to go and hang out with them and all that, but nothing at all worked. But then they could see I was taking my accident really well, losing my arm. So they asked me to go down and connect with this guy, Mal. As I was saying, I was at one stage there known as the in-house counsellor for the hospital. So here I am, I'm scootering down to this particular ward, and Mal, you know, was given one of those wheelchairs, and I remember we met in the middle of the hospital hallway, and we were doing time trials up and down, so on and so forth. But get this, all he wanted was someone to connect with, to someone to say, hey mate, let's go through this together. And what he wanted to do, he wanted me to show him how I went through my car accident, how I went through it emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And the way that I showed him was I became a bit of a mentor to him. And my biggest encouragement to you is that if you want to go from where you are today to where you want to be, who do you need to go out and find someone that can show you how to do it? Not just tell you, not just ask you the right questions, but show you how it's done. And in one-to-one, that is called a mentor. However, in one-to-many, when it does specifically come to showing someone, this is an actual trainer. So in the personal development space, really understanding how to position yourself in the marketplace, are you a mentor or are you a trainer? Or maybe you do both because you're creating a practice as someone in personal development. So basically what a trainer will show you exactly what's the formula, what's the process, what's the system, what's the strategy. So your ideal avatar, what they want to know from you, are you a trainer? Are you someone that gives them the formula, the strategy, the system, the process, and so on and so forth? Do they inspire that person as well? So this is basically, in order to create a practice as a thought leader or as an authority, you need to know how to be a mentor and show people how it's done, but then also you need to know how to become a trainer and train people how it's done as well. Why? Because you're an industry authority. authority. You should have your own content and your own IP around this. So the next part of positioning in your avatar is all about one-on-one is becoming a coach. And this is where you ask the right questions. The greatest coaches in the world are the people that have asked you the right questions in order for you to find the answers yourself. And so if you are a coach watching this, do you ask them the right questions so they can get the aha moment themselves? And a great coach won't just show them, but will actually ask the right questions. So that is more on the one-to-one. However, moving from the one-to-one to one-to-many, this is what we now need to learn how to become a facilitator. And what a facilitator is just simply ask the right questions. A facilitator doesn't tell. A facilitator doesn't show. A facilitator asks the right questions. So they ask a question there, then they facilitate the conversation and so on and so forth. So when it does come to understanding your avatar, you need to understand, first of all, how do you deliver your services? Do you deliver your services through showing people, or maybe you deliver your services through asking people the right questions, whether it's through the one-to-one or one-to-many. Now that we've understood exactly asking and showing, what do you think the one-to-one is telling is? Well, you might have already guessed it. Yes, it is becoming an author. So in one-to-one, by telling someone, there's actually no feedback. There's no conversation. There's no dialogue. You are just telling the person the right thing. And so as an author, my biggest encouragement to you is, what do you need to do to tell people the right thing, to tell them through that book? I believe as an industry authority, you have a book inside of you. And the greatest industry authorities in the world are the people that are actually accomplished authors. Now, how do you write a book? That's maybe where you go out and you get a mentor or a coach. A mentor will show you how it's done. A coach will ask you the right questions so you can find it out yourself. I would say you need a little bit of both. But as an industry authority, you need to have a book in your hand. Now, with your book, that book title needs to be disruptive, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in another episode. But in order for you to really understand who your avatar is, you need to have an entire practice. And as your practice, you need to understand the one-to-one and also the one-to-many. So the one-to-one in the telling is actually an author. So that then means the one-to-one in the many, or should I say one-to-many in the telling model, is all about becoming a speaker. Now, as industry authorities, we need to understand exactly how to communicate effectively. We need to understand also how the speaking industry works. Over the last 15
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.